Hello, I'm here with.
Ruben, Placencia.
And what did we do this weekend and what did we play?
I top 32 at the NAWCQ playing pure Elfnotes. Yeah.
And that is my goat right there. And any shout outs?
Shout outs to the Fanimage crew, my the waiting room of the server, my friends. Same with the Dublin King Kong area. Same with the Vacaville area. I wouldn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! As much as I am if not for them. Big shout out to my testing partner Craig. I was able to iron out this list testing with him months in advance. And then it's a shame that he couldn't quite finish out, so I finished in his stead. Absolute goated of a player, much respect to him. And then big shout out to my oldest brother. I wasn't able to quite make it to his birthday party this weekend. Had the NAWCQ planned before, but yeah, happy birthday, Alex.
Shout out, big bro.
Yes, sir.
Ready for the deck tomorrow?
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
Yeah. Starting off, we played standard ratio: 3 Lucina, 3 Tenia, 3 Regina. For people who were saying play 2 of this earlier on, you're kind of tripping. And then the arguably controversial inclusion is Triple Patron. With June Pride, you can now turn this into multiple pushes with the other elf notes you have, and because I'm playing Mag and Druis and other situations where you can maybe extend this with the Vidolium and then normal summon it like a Charmy, it just made this kind of like a weird pseudo starter. But I think just being able to trade in interactions and dodge removal like FNV, which is very popular, arguably the better breaker in the format if you could play it. Dodge FNV or target interactions on your elf note was so strong with June Pride existing. And in game ones where you didn't know where you were going up against, the additional engine push was nice and pseudo consistency. And then post side, you decided accordingly. So I think this came up and going through 2 in your combo. Sometimes high rolling into Omega Dragster Crystalling for 3 in your combo was so strong. And just always usually having 1 in your deck for turn 3 to ensure like you could June Pride into a Fortuna or into Ginaldo, get back the Rhapsodia so you weren't out of the game was important in testing, and I missed the 3rd one. So 3. I like it. Fortuna makes sense. Gets a trap. Rhapsodia or Welcome Home. You'd be on. If you weren't on the 3rd copy of this, you'd be on the 2nd copy of this. I side the 2nd one, but I think this isn't as good going 2nd as Patron. And generally speaking, people were siding Perulia, so this was fine in the game 1. And then post side when you're on Welcome Home, it's fine. But I think I wanted to keep it 40, and I think the pseudo consistency off the Patron was fine. This terrible brick, insane ass card, but
It's okay.
yeah, no, I lost like 2 of my games I lost was because I just kept drawing this going 2nd. This deck has quality cards for the most part, but the moment you draw this, you're just losing the game. That's the unfortunate bit. But this card is, I think, part of what makes this deck unfair.
Non-target negate, pretty good.
Non-target negate, revive, drawing attacks.
Pretty good.
Why? Yeah, sure. Patron stuff. 1 Ultimedius. Shout out to my goat Jeremy for letting me borrow this. I think this, and then I'll just go with the cards. 1 Ginaldo, 2 Vidrium, 3 Terminus. I think, in my opinion, especially with the triple Patron going out, 1 Medius, 2 Vidrium feels standard. 2 Vidrium feels so much better with the triple Patron, because now it's like you're less cloggy on normals. You can extend the Patron. I did it so many times too, or sometimes I'd send the Patron out of hand with Welcome Home or Regina and then bring it back immediately with Vidolium. This feels way better to see with your elf notes because you want to play with elf notes more so than your patrons. This scene with your elf notes is so nice because it contributes to another synchro by reviving Patron and getting you Ginaldo for the draw too. And so many times I would commit it as a lone card, no action, or first action this, search Patron. My opponent would not ash the Vidrium because they were hoping I go for Terminus. And then they would be disappointed when I went at Patron and then committed an Elfnote, and now it's like the Ash Imperm they had just could not beat my setup. And I didn't need to go for the draw too because any setup, like if they're hand ripping themselves by trying to stop me, they're just gonna lose to my half board setup. And you only needed 1, and also to run Axel, so hard starting with this into Charmies felt bad. So I think running 1 of this and then just playing more into the Patron aspect with the Elf Notes made more sense. And Vidrium just felt so good. And then my siding patterns usually was just like cut this because you don't want to attack lock yourself. 1 of these, and then this usually. That's Patron stuff. Hand traps, 18 in 40 should be standard. 3 Ash, yep. Bell, 2 Bell. I'll explain the 2 Veiler, the 2 of setups in a little bit. 2 Perulia, 3 Fua, 1 Mag, triple Federalis, and then the 2 FNV. The 2 ofs are a little weird, but because I feel like it was a diverse enough format, despite me playing 5 Rollout in day 1 and like 6 KT between day 1 and day 2, I think it was diverse enough to the point where I think Veiler and Bell have equivalent usage across different matchups, to where I didn't want to play 3 Bell and came across Elfnote or come across Power Patron and then it was a dead card or a bad card, and I didn't want to play 3 Veiler because Rollout isn't always playing into it depending on the version, or sometimes KT just went KTS to dodge it or FNV and it just felt really bad. 2 FNV because I think you want to lean harder into your hand traps, and 2 is fine because you're statistically likely to see it almost as often as a 3 of in a 6 card hand if you analyze it that way, as opposed to a 5 card hand where you play like 3 of it. And I also played 19 hand traps, so the likelihood I drew this and 1 hand trap and nothing else was low. I'd always, at least with like the Regina, I'd always at least like draw 2 hand traps and then maybe this at worst. There was games where it wasn't quite as good, but I mean, I think with how many rollouts I played against in KT, I never felt too disappointed about this card. I like it just because it makes your top decks better. And then
clean 40?
Clean 40. And then 2 Perulia, because I think with Elfnotes, the more you can chase out the Ash off the opponent, the more often you can resolve your Regina, which was important. And Perulia was just like, probably in a lot of cases better than Fua, because you're just always into rollout. They're never really playing too hard into Fua. KT is giving you at least a draw or 2, so you're kind of in the same game state. And playing double Charmy meant you can push into boards better. And no punish really, because you can just send them, so makes sense. 18 non-engine with the 3 Regina, 21 non-engine and 40. Very strong. Yeah. Side deck.
Pretty good.
Yeah, side deck. As I said, second welcome home. Going first post side. This is fine to play around Droll, play on Perulia, and at this point, you would hopefully maybe have it out to Fua, or maybe commit this as a last option when you could feel out if they don't have Fua. If you have to commit this as your only play into Fua, that's so be it. I think there's not really another starter that's equivalently quality based on the cards in my list. Call by, I mean,
Sacking 1 of?
Yeah, you gotta stop Charmies. This deck plays really well in the hand traps, but sometimes your pushes are weak because with Regina you play 17 starters or 16 starters, post side 17 with the 3 patron, but your hands aren't always super quality, so the call by is nice. 1 Judgment was okay, saw it a couple of times. Realistically, I'll give my thoughts on what this could have been. Same with the other card on my side, but card is fine. I think the idea was that if I go up against Elfnotes and KT, this is just against KT. It's just make Trackmaker, flip, GG. But this could have been anything else, honestly. And I'll explain that in a little bit. The 3rd Veiler, I think Elfnote and Power Patron were the matchups I feared the most going into the NAWCQ. So I felt like the 3rd Bell wasn't as something I didn't need to include. Looking back, probably because I played a lot of KT and Rolad, but I think the 3rd Veiler was fine. The call I was trying to make, but I mean my matchups and run didn't quite translate to it. Realistically, with how I ran and what I ran into, this could have been 3rd Bell, but I don't regret this being 3rd Veiler because I wanted to prepare for the mirror. 2 Droll. This was Baldrick Illusion Gate for a little bit, but I think I was fearing the Rolad combo piles like Azamina, whatever, random Mitsu, Clown Crew, whatever. Power Patron. This came up into Power Patron, yeah. But I think it was important to have this because you just have like a random sack factor into combo pile 60 card decks where it's like, oh, you just drop Droll, they turn skip them, and then you play the game. And there's game matchups where this was equally good going first because you just drop this when they charmy you. And most of the time you don't have to search when you play, so like Malice back then. So you just go charm yourself and then play combo, hand rip, whatever. So it was nice. Unironically, this came up the most when I lost a Darwin to Power Patron. They had a weak start. Usually they have a weak start, unless it's like goated like Shade. They went like Jupedo, Pop, Search Terminus, I drolled, and then he turned skip. Unfortunate, but
That's roll?
Yeah, droll good. And then the cards that I think were like the most insane all weekend. Gamma, 2 driver, or 2 Delta, 1 driver. Oof. I think side frames are so good. I put Gamma in so many times going first. And every time, because how Elfnote plays, especially with the second welcome home, Vidrium and whatnot, you're in Regina, you're always leaving. You can always start with leaving yourself with no monsters, and people are going to Perulia, they're going to Droll, they're going to Ash, they're going to Fua. So then I just kept summoning this, making Omega rip a second card and playing. And sometimes you just summon this, and like you're in a weird game state, just normal summon Patron and make Strelitzia off of this, or Dragster if you're trying to play around like Impulse or Spark. So it felt really.
That came up this weekend?
To synchro with it?
Yes.
Oh, a lot of times. Going first to make Omega to just immediately rip and keep playing. Sometimes when my hand was weak, I would go normal Patron, make Strelitzia search, and put him in a position where it's like, I'm already committing to my Elfnote engine before I commit to a proper Elfnote starter. And then this would just make Omega with a 6 later, and it was so good. Delta, because it's like, because there's KT would usually post side into more spells, like overtuning, like maybe Prosperity, Call by whatever. They would sign in more spells post side. And so you have a higher likelihood of trying to stop them, especially if you go like Baylor on like a Q, they go chain KTSU Delta. So I think that was the thought process. And didn't really see this in the KT, or if I did, they either bricked. The funny highlight was me delting Di-Fi against Mitsu, and then they went pre-prep and I drolled them. So funny. Third Perulia, I think this makes sense. Rollad. I think Elfnote has a really good Rollad matchup, especially if you spec your extra deck pretty well to it. But the third Perulia was nice. I think that was the card you just want to play the third copy of. Another controversial card was Druid Worm. Generally speaking, it should be fine. I think this and Judgment should have been DD Crows for how much I played against Rollad, because the Ritual Light and Darkness, or Light and Darkness Ritual, non-target add back felt really hard to like contest with Bestials. Being able to, usually they committed to a bodies with their hybrid version, and then you Bestial like Grifo so they can't get it to your turn was strong. But I think DD Crow would have been stronger, but I mean, I think this was fine for what it was, but I think DD Crow, it should have been DD Crow to be a little more optimized. Everything else was good though. Third FNV, I think Rollad and having it was strong, especially into KT where I put it in. I just have more like breaker cards, kind of why I didn't like Ogre, because I wanted more cards that were live on my turn and had more value. And then One Duster, One Storm, I think you wanted some back row hate to some degree, but I think there wasn't enough matchups I went up against where the back row hate was relevant. So I think going forward, especially depending on what event you're going to, you could probably cut these out for more side options. Because Rollad will just protect their back row. KT just ended on KTS or whatever, or then on Accusation, and you don't want to really play into it when your deck doesn't play into it. And Elfnote, they're probably just hand ripping you or negate it before, so it just doesn't feel high value. I think it was fine to keep it in because Di-Fi is a card and whatnot, but realistically, I think how the format is, these cards aren't really cards I would side in a lot. So I think the flexibility made more sense, but I think Elfnote lacks very convincing ways to out back rows, so besides black rows. So I think this made sense. And that's the side. Extra deck. Piece of FNV, I played Albion Ecclesia. Makes sense. I sent this off Harmonia a couple times when I had FNV, so I could FNV send this. So FNV Harmonia translated into a third interruption. It's good.
Ew.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Nasty.
Librarian, funny card. I played with the one Medius, drew so many cards. I just kept drawing hand traps over and over and over because you thin your deck. It's a win con. You just draw like, you have 4 non-engine, full board, GG, really good. Dawn Dragster, generic synchro. Making this into board is nice because you check stuff. This is how you can also check Mind Shuffle into Rollad. Really good. QE Belt, not many people play it. I prioritize more of my extra deck to go second. And just play the central cards you need for going first. No Axel, no BTB, no Shooting Riser. So QE Belt was so nice into Rollad, was so nice to chain block the patron by popping a back row. So people who had like Ash FNV or like Ash Super Poly or like whatever, like Ash maybe a back row, would have to force a back row and they couldn't Ash my patron. So I'd be pushing up, especially if I had Regina, which means I could chase out the Ash easier. QE Belt was nice. I always wanted this in testing, always wanted this in tourney. I think this came up and was an MVP card of the day. Black Rose, have to play it. Doesn't come up a lot because of how you play into boards, but it's a card that you're fine having it and not needing it, then needing it and not having it. Strelitzia, climb up to an 8. You know, Omega, this card should be banned. I don't know why Tenia rips, and I don't know why they keep this legal. This is also a great Harmonia send to chase cards out of the graveyard or put your own cards back. Like I did this against KT in like a weird back and forth game state. Put Lucina back and then stop their combo and then top deck Lucina for turn. So it was random stuff, but it can increase your top decks better. Pack Bit, I didn't play Malong. I didn't play Wind Pegasus. I think usually I was always popping 1, or if I could pop 2 and discard. Pack Boot was fine, and it's a card I could make, and that was strong. Crystal Wing. Yeah. Got it. Crystal Wing's so strong. You just commit to it earlier to insulate your plays, and then you just go June Pride afterwards, and then you're just fine if a Drawless and Ogre. Croco Dragon. It's weird to play without Axel, but there's so many times I would go an Elfnote with a level 3 hand trap, especially in the KT getting hand trap. Make this draw into engine. I almost always draw into engine off this, especially if I drew a lot of non-engine. So it makes it so that people, and it's a draw 1, so people would be like, oh, Ashen. It's like, cool. I have like Terminus, Regina, Tenia. I'm still playing. Or people would be like, it's a draw 1. I'm not going to interact with it. And you draw an engine piece that lets you trade up into 2 hand traps. And this was fine. This came up a lot more so in the KT, but I think the application is still there. And I just prioritize having a lot of niche corner cases and focusing on making my ceiling consistent of just Crystal Wing, Omega Dragster, and that was all you needed. June Pride, so nice. This makes the deck like from like a 7.5 to like an 8.5 of a deck. Like the tag out is so nice. Turn 0 is nice. It's a little fragile, but it's nice. And it like increases your ceiling by letting you do another synchro on top of your board. It's so good, exactly what the deck needed. Genora, corner cases to Ginaldo, interactive boards, trade for the boards. OTK was nice into Rollad to be able to trade for the Mind Shuffle, and then I went Rhapsody trade for like a Chaos Angel they made. I made it once, but I think it's a card that you usually don't always make because I frequently set it out Ginaldo. Chaos Angel, I made this a lot, especially off Medius. With one Medius, you make it less often, but I think the corner case of going with Bestials and then making this was nice. And sometimes I would go like Fortuna Medius for Light and Dark Chaos Angel to protect my board into like KT or Elfnote. So they just had like such a hard time interacting with your board, especially like into like Branded or like whatever FNB. They send Ecclesia. They can't Ecclesia shuffle back Crystal Wing because this protects it. This is kind of nice, especially into Rollad where like I'd combo. They try to Grifo, I Ash the Mind Shuffle, and it's like, okay, Mind Shuffle's still there, but I can still get into something, so I made Chaos Angel, banish the Mind Shuffle, and then protected my board. And then Pep, this came up a lot. This was nice to go with Fedrawless to do something with Fedrawless. Fedrawless, Charmy, Fedrawless, Medius, no effect, make this, chase a card out, and then Medius effect later. Or make this off of going like Terminus, you can do like Terminus and Ginaldo, add Vidrium being back, Patron, add the other Patron, and then you could rank up into, or level up into Genora to negate the board in Chain Block, or normal and immediately synchro into this, add and Chain Block to add back, and then banish a card. Into Rollad, it was nice because you just chased out more cards with targeting interactions, and you had your own tower, so if they didn't interact earlier, this was just unaffected when you paid. It was nice. I didn't miss Exile, I didn't miss BTB. I think the central core of your ceiling being these 3 is always going to be enough paired with the 18 non-engine that you play in Rhapsodia. And even game states where I did on like one Crystal Wing Rhapsodia into like non-engine or into like Charmies, and like with me having my own non-engine was always enough, because it's just, this deck doesn't need to go for a high ceiling when like you can like make very minimal like strong setups, and June Pride just getting you more value out of like small setups to make Patron synchro was nice. But yeah, this was the main list. Tested this like endlessly with my goat Craig. I think we ended up playing more or less the same list. Side I think felt perfect leading up to everything, but I think that aside of these 2 being potentially Druid's Worm, I don't think I would. Yeah, for Deeded Crow. Yeah. I don't think I'd change much. Yeah, that was a deck I took to the NAWCQ. Had a great time and had a great weekend with my boys. And shout outs to the Blatty behind the camera.
Hey, you already know.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for the deck list.